we need to make a decision on the zoning. What the landowners decide to do with that information once they have it, and whatever decision we make is the appropriate zoning, that's the project we will see. I was very impressed with a lot of the ideas that came through the Smart Growth Coalition's exercise. Those are great ideas. What we need is find someone with the resources and the investors want to put those ideas into place. We have a lot of we have a good inventory of industrial lands in this county. That's not the problem. That's not the holdup. What the holdup is somebody to come in and put those ideas into place. It's not the land. It's the resources to put them into place.
Mr. Morrison.
This was, I think, our bread and butter here. It's not going to be just for Mendocino County either. In my opinion, if we create a central hub, if you will, an educational learning center that does focus on a lot of different green-oriented businesses that are mindful of the work that we have ahead of us in cleaning up the environment and trying to mitigate the effects of global warming. We could do water reclamation. I mentioned that before, learning how to clean the air and clean the soil and recycle the things that we're not really making much use of right now. And you know, the light industry would be a boon for the economy here. And we could work out some arrangement where products are generated from the facility and sold in the cities, and that could work out some more of the equal distribution of the wealth. And I think that, you know, there's many, the Permaculture Center, like I said before, at the Real Goods, I mean, the list is endless of all of the things that we could do there.
Mr. Rickel.
I think I'm probably the only one up here that has a long history of knowing about Masonite. I used to live in Empire Gardens. My neighbors worked at Masonite as a pressman, and I remember the soot or whatever it was coming down every day on my mother's car. I remember when it closed. I remember when the state hospital closed. It was a great vacuum in this community. Now, I've been to board meetings, and I have watched on television board meetings when I don't have the convenient time to be there, and I've gone to DDR's presentation. And I think the reality is this: we need an economic stimulus in this county, and DDR is providing that. Now, whatever that means in terms of the final product will be gauged on what the UVAP, what the general plan, and what the current board does. But I guarantee you, we have no other economic stimulus on the board than what these people are proposing, whatever it turns out to be. It might not even be what they last presented. But they're the property owners. They're willing to invest the money. They're looking at their investment return over the next 10, 20 years. So they're going to pay attention to smart growth. They're going to pay attention to all the input that has come out of this attention in process. I'm looking forward to something happening out there. I'm tired of seeing a vacant lot or before the old structure. Thank you.
Dolly Brown.
I actually worked at Masonite. I actually crawled in the boilers and scrubbed in there. So you're not the only one. This is privately owned property. A lot of the ideas I could think of, you know, probably 100 ideas, but it's privately owned property. And if the county owned it, then, you know, I'd be saying this is what we should do. But it's privately owned property, so I'm not going to tell them what to do. They're going to. It has to do with, you know, economy. I've been in land development for 25 years. You get a piece of property and you're going to try to do your highest and best use to make the most money. But I think that it should stay industrial, because at some point in time, I believe that we'll be able to attract industry in here. I don't think the answer is a mega mall when we have shop after shop after shop closing downtown. And as you look at both ends of town and going, something's wrong with this picture. We need to enhance and local build ourselves up. And at some point, I think we'll be able to get some industry. Well, they'll have to sell it off if they don't get a mega mall.
Ms. Brown.
At the Masonite site, I do not believe a mall or housing is appropriate. One, it's zoned industrial. The owner or the buyer that came in and bought that property knew at the time what it was zoned. Our general plan is a Bible, and it's also it tells a potential purchaser or an individual that owns land exactly what they can do with that land. Industry zoned land has a lot of uses. There's a recent Humboldt County study that talked about a number of growth industries that can occur. I talked about the Highway 70 Industrial Park that's privately owned in Oroville, Butte County. It's a fine example of what should happen at Masonite. I feel that if you start rezoning in that area, it's just not logical, because the rest of the industrial zoning as you go along there will fall, because you can't do those kind of mixed uses. They say there's industrial land all the way down to Calpella. However, industry has tried to go in there, and they were turned down at a county level because of complaints from pockets of residential homes. So we need to protect that area for industry and those uses. Some of the growth industries that have been identified for the North Coast and rural areas such as ours, niche manufacturing, light industry, and value-added products from local resources such as our agriculture. Thank you.
Could I ask you, Mr. Delbar? Oh,
Started.
He started.
I like a
I'm
little...
sorry, I'm getting totally confused.
Excuse me, I
Okay,
like a
but-
little rebuttal to Carrie. When she talks about residents complaining, there was supposed to be a batch plant down there. The board's going to be considering a recycling plant down there. And we have multiple mobile home parks, multiple children with respiratory issues already factored in. And these protests are saying we don't want any more damage going on. It is that whole area is highly traversed, that north part of North State Street. So, you know, when we complain, when the public complains, they're complaining for a specific reason.
Can I address that? What I'm talking about is proper land use planning. You don't put batch plants next to homes. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, one last question. I have a whole board full more of questions, but we have to give the other team a chance. We don't usually address things directly to someone, but this started out, I'm going to combine two questions again. One is, Supervisor Delbar, if reelected, what do you propose to do differently than in the past? And for the rest of the clients, candidates, how do you differ from the incumbent? So I thought those two questions kind of went together. And it should be Mr. Morrison that starts.
Well, as I mentioned before, I represent the up-and-coming generation of people who are feeling quite responsible for the activities in the community, and we'd like to take more leadership roles. I'm just one of many, and I happen to be a very good communicator with those groups, and I've been able to build bridges between just about any walk of life, and I think that that's something that we need more of. I'm a wonderful listener, and I look forward to hearing from you to find out where I need to put my ears next, and then I can reflect what you've been able to inform me and where we need to go as a community. That's something that I think that I'm going to do that hasn't been done and probably won't be done quite the same way. I'm more than advisory. I'm participatory. I'm going to be there literally breaking my own back to make sure that this is done right.
Mr. Rickle.
How to weave answers to that question is difficult. I think one of the most important things, and I've stated in my campaign literature, is the boards, including the incumbents, decision between right and wrong on a variety of issues is arrogant. I mean, the difference between the incumbent and most of us, especially me, is we've been in the trenches actually dealing